What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, AskTheBrain, and you're watching The Couch. Welcome to my Week 6 waiver wire pickups video. Surprise, surprise, Andy Dalton has the most fantasy points out of every player so far this year. The Texans' defense has been very frustrating to owners that drafted him. Like myself, luckily I was able to pull off a win last week, and I just might roll the dice again when they play the Jaguars Week 6. And of course, the biggest news in the fantasy world, which you already know, Jamaal Charles has a torn ACL and is out for the rest of the season. In this video, I'm going to reveal the top waiver wire pickups in every position, then answer the Twitter question of the week in our hashtag AskTheBrain segment. Then I have a question for you and another giveaway, so make sure you stay tuned throughout the whole video. Let's go into the waivers. The 4 teams that are on bye this week are the Cowboys, Raiders, Rams, and Bucks. Tyrod Taylor suffered a knee injury and will miss at least 1 game. Sam Bradford is the top of my quarterbacks to pick up. He's great for this week and for long term. Marcus Mariota let us down last week if you started him, but I still have faith in him. I think he'll still be a good pickup for you. If you want to go even a little bit more risky than Marcus Mariota, we got Brian Hoyer going up against the Jaguars. Blake Bortles is in the QB1 discussion this year for sure. Just make sure you check on the status of his shoulder before picking him up. And in deeper leagues, if you want to stream a quarterback, look for Flacco going against the Niners, Jay Cutler. Jameis Winston is on bye, but I see him improving a little bit. He's going to have Austin Seferian-Jenkins back. Now, he's definitely a stash because he's on bye this week. And if you want to go super risky, you have Colin Kaepernick. We don't expect Ryan Fitzpatrick to wow us, but he'll still have a decent game, just like he's been doing every week this year. And if you're in a dual QB league, you can pick up EJ Manuel. He'll be starting on the Buffalo Bills at least this week. The most popular waiver wire pickup this week is going to likely be Charcandrick West. Now, Davis will also likely have some fantasy value, but we don't quite know what's going to go on with the Chiefs' backfield. If you're a Jamaal Charles owner or you really need a running back, both options are good, but West is going to be slightly more valuable from what we know now. Also, Antonio Andrews is not owned in a lot of leagues. Running backs are hard to come by, so he should be picked up in most leagues. Shane Vereen's a great pickup in PPR, and he has a pretty good matchup against the Eagles. The Giants are going to likely have to throw the ball a little bit to be in this game. Now, Lynch is expected to play, but he's banged up. We went over this a ton of times, how he's got a ton of miles on him. He's been used by the Seahawks. So these injuries, he has more than one injury. They can reoccur easily. So Thomas Rawls is definitely worth a pickup as maybe like an RB4 or in more shallow leagues like an RB5 on your team. And at worst, a handcuff to Lynch owners. Make sure you keep up on the status of Justin Forsett and Lorenzo Taliaferro. If both of them are out, or even one of them, Buck Allen makes for a really good pickup and a sneaky start this week. I'm expecting both McCoy and Carlos Williams to be out. Not sure on the status of Carlos Williams this week, but if he is out, I really do like Anthony Booby Dixon. McFadden is a pretty good stash. He's on bye this week, so keep that in mind. And in PPR leagues, I like Theo Riddick. In a lot of leagues, surprisingly, Allen Hurns is still not owned, and he will be this week, I guarantee it. Deshaun Jackson may not play this week, but he's definitely worth a pickup. Also, Willie Snead. Wow, is this guy worth a pickup? Should be picked up in every league. Marcus Colston is likely not going to play this week. Almost 100% that he's not going to play this week. And regardless of that, Willie Snead should be picked up in every league. Make sure you go get him. I truly believe Tavon Austin is going to be part of the game plan every week for the Rams. Now, he will be a little inconsistent, but they're going to try to give him the ball. He's one of their biggest playmakers, so he's definitely worth a pickup. Some guys gave up on Anquan Bolden. I'm not going crazy for him, but I really think he's a good pickup this week, a good start if you need a wide receiver, your wide receiver's on bye. And he should be picked up to add depth if you need depth at wide receiver. This is a guy who should be owned in 10-man and 12-man leagues. Check up on the status of Ruben Randall and Odell Beckham Jr. And regardless of that, Dwayne Harris makes for a good pickup. I talked about him last week, and he was a sneaky start for my FanDuel picks. Now, if those two guys are out, the other Giants wide receivers, Dwayne Harris is a must pickup. He's a good pickup if both those guys are playing, they seem healthy, then Dwayne Harris is a good pickup, but only in deep leagues. And if Devonta Adams is out again, Ty Montgomery makes for a really good acquisition. Almost 100% chance Julio Jones is going to play. And if Leonard Hankerson seems a bit banged up, then Roddy White may make for a good pickup. Notice he's the last guy on this list. Definitely not going crazy over picking up Roddy White. There's 3 tight ends that should be owned in every league, and that's Gary Barnidge, Julius Thomas, and Larry Donnell. I like Richard Rodgers, but I really like Austin Seferian-Jenkins. If you have room on your bench to stash him, he's on bye this week and he's injured. But if you can pick him up, you have room, please do so. You're going to be thankful once he starts playing again, and Jameis Winston targets him a ton of times. In deeper leagues, look for Jacob Tamme, Kyle Rudolph, Heath Miller. If you want to go a little bit more risky, go for Vernon Davis, and check up on the status of Jordan Reed, also Deshaun Jackson, who we mentioned. So Derek Carrier makes for another sneaky pickup. I had him in some FanDuel lineups last week. He did okay, scored a touchdown. My top 9 defenses to pick up are the Bengals D. They're going up against the Buffalo Bills. They're a bit banged up at the running back position. This should be a low-scoring game, and the Bengals are favorite to win. So they're really good defense. The Bengals defense, they don't wow you all the time, but they're a solid defense, a defense that's somewhat consistent and I can somewhat trust week to week, which is pretty rare for that defensive spot. A sneaky start this week is the Minnesota Vikings defense going against the Chiefs. Jamal Charles is hurt. Alex Smith likes to check it down, and that's a pretty good start this week. Should be a low-scoring game as well. If you want to take a little bit more risk, go with the Lions defense going up against the Bears. Alshon Jeffrey hasn't even really been playing, so that's a good matchup, but a little bit risky. Lions team is not doing too well. Another risky defense is the Titans. We also have the Packers at home, so that's good. The Ravens is very risky going up against the Niners. We've seen the Niners play awful. Their offense play awful, so that's a good pickup. We also got the Panthers if they can get some good pass rush. The Seahawks offensive line has not been blocking well, especially when it comes to pass protection. So that's a good pickup right there. And I still have a little bit of faith in the Houston Texans defense. Definitely not a whole lot. They're going against the Jaguars, and if Bortles is hindered by that shoulder injury, and maybe even he's out, then the value of the Texans defense definitely goes up. And lastly, we have the Chiefs going against the Vikings. If they get some cool pass rush on the Vikings defense, that's going to be a good start right there. For kickers, of course, we have the Cardinals kicker again. He's just so consistent, makes all his field goals, and he's pretty low risk. I also like Matt Prater, of course, Josh Brown, Nick Folk this week. Watch for Cairo Santos and Nick Novak. Those 2 games may be windy, so make sure you check up on the status of the weather before picking up and starting those guys. Also, Ryan Suckup if you're in a super deep league this week. Whether it be on Twitter, Instagram, or the comments on YouTube, if you want your question answered on the video, make sure you use hashtag AskTheBrain. Let's see who hit us up at Fantasy Couch on Twitter and answer the question of the week. Joe asks, do we drop Abdullah for Riddick or grab Riddick and see what happens? Non-PPR. Very good question here. Now, I've been talking about Theo Riddick well before the draft. It's a great sleeper in PPR leagues. He's got a ton of targets, ton of catches. But usually guys like this, the pass catching running backs, they're going to be really inconsistent. So I would roll the dice on Abdullah for at least 1 more week. Now, I know Abdullah has been terrible, fumbling the ball, not doing so well. But I'm going to just see how Abdullah does at least for this week. And then if he does poorly for 1 or 2 more weeks, then I'll definitely pick up Riddick. But for now, stick with Abdullah. PJ is the winner of last week's contest. Congrats, bro. You were the one that guessed the highest amount of fantasy points for Antonio Gates. You guessed 24. He got 30.2 points PPR scoring. So, yeah, he went off. Best tight end last week. So, congrats. We'll do the same thing this week. Another giveaway. Free stickers, free sunglasses for the person that guesses the closest. So, here's the question this week. I have Gronkowski on my team now. I need Gronk to have a bounce back game. He didn't do so good last week. Did pretty mediocre. So how many fantasy points will Gronkowski get for week 6 PPR scoring? So leave your comment below with your answer. Make sure you use a decimal like 11.8 or 40.2. That's what I'm hoping for. So leave a comment below with your answer, and I'll get back to you and let you know what I think he'll get. And that about wraps up this video. Make sure you guys check out our Pink Fantasy Football Championship belts. We'll be donating $10 to breast cancer organizations for every belt sold. Also, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be doing the weekly waiver videos and of course my DFS daily fantasy football picks. See you guys on the next one. In case you guys were wondering, this guy over here is Monte Snuggles. He's the official mascot for Fantasy Couch. You can follow him on Instagram at Monte_Snuggles. In case you're wondering, this is the official Fantasy Couch mascot, Monte Snuggles. That's disrespectful.